Good morning, Flosstube. I'm Lorre and welcome to Once Upon a Stitch. Today is a special video that I will be sharing with you. It is all my Christmas stitching, basically ornaments and things that I hang around the house that I've stitched. And so I'm going to open the box. You can't see it here, but I have a tub here that I'll open and show. I'll do my best in remembering what each one is. If I don't remember, if I make a mistake and you say, well, that's not it, you could always drop a note into the remarks and maybe I'll talk about it in the next video if I misspoke. Or if you need really something that I show and maybe I don't remember, let me know, describe it as best that you can, and I'll try and look it up. I have a book here, this little book right here, that I've been writing. I skipped the first page, but basically I write down every year and the finishes that I've had that year. So I kind of read through it this morning. I read through it this morning to see if I can remember a few titles and designers. So if I misspeak, forgive me. I'm not as sharp as I used to be. That's all I got to say. Okay, the first one is Bend Creek. That was it. Let's see. I also took some notes so that in case you asked. Bend Creek Winter Arches, this was called. And there were 5 of them, but I only did 3. And I did like an arch backing, and this was stitched on, this looks like a 16 count Ada. The very first thing that I stitched back in 2017 when I picked up cross stitch again was Country Cottage Gingerbread House, and that was this one. And I remember stitching this and putting the white in on top of the house here, and feeling like it wasn't showing well, and down at the bottom it wasn't showing well. So I brought it into my needlepoint store and I'm like, the white's not really showing like I want it to. So I had gone over it with some blending filament that had some sparkle to it. So this was the very first one that I did when I came back to cross stitching, and I made it a little wall hanging. Then I did, that year I also did the December cottage from Country Cottage. And when I put this on it also has a sleeve for hanging, I put a little holly branch that folds over here, and it looks really cute. Then I made this project bag, and it's large. So what I did was I stored some of my finishes in it. And the first one, this one's really not Christmas per se. It's the, what was this? Bend Creek. No, this was not Bend Creek. This was, I don't remember. I just gave it away, actually. That's it. Waxing Moon, Windy Day. I gave this away a video or 2 ago, and I finished it in my first flat fold. And I always say I felt that this was a little too short, but I love it just the same. Then I gave this pattern away, I don't know, a couple of months ago. This is Plum Street, Santa and Willard, or Kringle and Willard. And when I gave the pattern away, I explained that there's a design in the sheep that is really hard to see because the batches of colors that I used were so similar. So if I were, and you know, as being somewhat new to cross stitch, I feel I'm new, I should have been more diligent in saying, oh, this doesn't go together, let's take it out and redo it. But I left it as is. It sits in one of those baskets. I must have put it up in the attic this year, the basket, because I used to just leave this on the basket and store it in the closet. And when I was looking for it to show you when I was giving the pattern away, it was nowhere to be found is because I stored it away in here. So this was stitched on a 28 count. I don't remember the fabric, but it was a 28 count. Oh, and what I did was, in the pattern, these are half trees. I completed them. I just wanted to complete it, so I did. The next one is a Brenda Gervais, and this is Ho Ho Ho. And this is stitched on a 28 count. Maybe ivory? No, cream maybe. This is the back. And I put a wool edging around it that I stitched on. The next was, this was, I believe it was Little House, Merry Christmas. Little House Needleworks. And I put it on this board that I got from Hobby Lobby. And it's on with what? Food and Friends. It's on with magnets and sheet metal. And I could either hang it, because it has a hanger for the wall, or I can just set it up because the bottom is a wide base. This is Rovaris. This is Winter House, I believe it is. Scissor holder. No, it's Rami's collection. It's Rami's collection, and it's the scissor holder. And the button came with the pattern, which I've given away, and that's the scissors. And I think it called for you to hand stitch the door down. Well, I machine stitch it with an edge stitcher, and I made this a flat fold. And I put some satin ribbon around that I had. And it changes color just like, I thought, like bricks of a house. That was my idea to go with that. Okay, let's see what's next. So this project bag held a lot of pieces. I remember when I wanted to stitch my very first sampler, and I says, like, I emailed, maybe I made a comment in her comments, and I says, it was Lorre, Mischievous Stitches. And I said to her, what's a good sampler pattern as a starting point? And she suggested this one. And this is, it's not written in the back. This is, I don't remember. It's either a Country Cottage or Little House Needleworks. And it's the most wonderful time of the year. Country Cottage, I found it. Country Cottage Needleworks, the most wonderful time of the year. And this was like one of the first pieces that I fully finished, so you can still see some wrinkles. And this was stitched on an Aida, looks like 18 count Aida. And I left the eyes off the gingerbread because they were French knots. And my gingerbread men looked like they were on, I don't know what. This is, this was Band Sampler by Works by ABC, and it's from 1604. And Arlene had stitched it on, I think it was purple and green, hers. And I decided that I found this fabric at Needleworkers, like for band samplers, like the edges were finished, and it was in red and green. So I said, oh, I can do something for Christmas. And I added a tassel, and I explained when you finish this, you had to leave enough space that you can bring up the bottom so that it wouldn't show through the white of the fabric. So it's hidden in here. And then I did I started at the top, worked down, and that hangs out at Christmas time as well. Then I did a Prairie Schooler. I believe this was from the booklet St. Nicholas. It was the very first cross-stitch pattern book that I purchased when I first moved to New Jersey, and there was a cross-stitch store in my town that closed down right away practically as soon as I started stitching. Then this is Jack Forrest's Tree Farm, and this was from Little House Needleworks, and this is stitched on a 28 count, and it has sheet metal on the back. And then I did the 3 pillows, which is balsam, Douglas fir, and pine. And the way I display this, excuse me while I reach over, is I found this frame at Hobby Lobby, and I had my husband put some hangers on it, and then this sits against the wall so they don't spin, but you get to see the stitch part, and that's the background. And yeah, so they can't get them all together, but and then they sit against the wall like that. So I enjoy hanging that up. It goes in the hallway between the kitchen and the front door. And this was this Lizzie Kate? Yes, it was Lizzie Kate. Be Naughty, Save Santa the Trip. And I found this frame in a thrift store, and I thought it just was perfect. The mat, boards, everything. So I love this piece. I put this out every year. This one I don't remember the, I gave the pattern away. This is Deck the Halls. And I put some buttons, buttons. I glued on some buttons, and I tacked on the pretend lights. And I finished it like that. This is a Brenda Gervais. I don't remember the title to this one. If you probably went on 123 Stitch and scroll down to their Christmas ones, you probably would find it. Everything is out of stock on Brenda Gervais. I have not been able to find the bell pattern, and I guess I have to go to her website to see if I can find it there. There's magnets and washers here, and then I also put a magnet here for this, so I situate it much better when I can, and I prop it in my bookcase. So that was a Brenda Gervais finish. This was Lizzie Kate Noel. Yeah, this was a kit, but I don't think I used the fabric. I think I used my own Aida. But they gave you the fabric for this. Last year, I stitched the 12 ornaments from Just Cross Stitch magazine. There's a group that it's run by Joe Perry, and it's JCS. And if you Google that on Facebook, you'll probably find it. And if you're interested, you can ask to join, and they'll accept you. And right now they're voting on the ornaments from the 2022 Cross Stitch magazine, and you can vote for like which one you'd like to stitch. They do it by section. Each group of, I don't know how many ornaments, maybe 10 in a section. They have you vote on them, and I think the ones that are the most popular, she chooses 12. And I think you have, it used to be 2 that if you didn't want to stitch them, you can swap it out for a different 2 that you'd want to stitch. So this was one of them, and I don't remember all the designers on it, but this was from that year, last year, 2021 Christmas book. No, because you're doing 2022, isn't it? So it's 2020. So 2020, I'm so confused. 2020, and you stitched it in 2021, and this year's 2022 book, you stitch in 2023. So this came from the 2021 issue. This also, oops, came from one of the magazines. I just finished it like that. I've come a long way. Like now, if I were to finish this, I would probably put either pom-poms or, I mean, maybe I still could, maybe a bow. I would do a little bit more to judge it up. This is a Lizzie Kate. I think I finished it right at the end, and I didn't fully finish it with the tape. The sleigh ornaments, they usually come in 3 patterns, and this was one of them. This was a Christmas present to me from Rebecca's Aunt Margaret, and I just love it. And that also, I believe, was a Lizzie Kate. And then this one, I stitched Lizzie Kate. This one's tacked down. Now I took that bird and I restitched it, and I made an ornament like this. Oops. It's a medal with a bell, and I put some Swarovski crystals in it. And just to do a different finish, I glued it onto this. So just took part of it and made a different type of ornament for it. Then I did some more sleds. This is a cup of cocoa. It's hard to tell that it's a cup of cocoa. The whole white is the cup, the mug with the little handle there. That's it. And then I did the mouse again. This was from the magazine, Noel. This is a Lizzie Kate Noel, and this was the first time I stitched on 32 count, and I don't know if it was the last time. I might have did, but I remember I was like 1 count off somewhere, and I'm like, why do people want to stitch on something like this? But yeah, I finished it. Just a plain back. Now I would know to like put the ribbon in between the two now. I mean, you learn as you go, so don't be afraid to try your own finishing. My friend Alva gave me this, the pattern for this, and I don't remember if it was who the designer was. I don't know if it was Heart and Hand. I don't remember. Family. And I finished it. Since it was so small, I cut the back. I put it on some red wool and then put some, I probably stitched it together and then put a green piece of wool backing. Then, let's see, this was either Heart and Hand or not Ben Creek, Heart and Hand. Yeah, I think it was Heart and Hand. The round ones that go into a bowl. I don't know. I don't know if I should be doing this video. I can't remember designers, so I'm really, really sorry. So I'm hoping you just enjoy seeing the different finishes and how I've progressed along the way. And here's that little bird again from Lizzie Kate. Rusty bell finish. Some wool around the outside. This is a Little House Needleworks, and this is the one, it was called My House, so it says Chicolone on it. And these are the ones that come out that have the needlepoint store, the toy store, the diner, the church, the playground, the school. So the very first one I had done separately. And I put this looks like a piece of wool felt, and then I just put a plaid backing on the back. Because I think I didn't know that I could have stitched them all together. So I had done a few separate ones. I didn't finish the other two that I started, well, that I finished, but I didn't fully finish. This was a Lizzie Kate. What does it say? Jingle, jingle. So I put some bells so that it would jingle, jingle. This was from the magazine. This, I believe, was a magazine. This is on Ada, probably 18 count. This was a Sue Hillis. I believe it was called My Favorite Things. So I did the mittens and the hat, and I found some pink trees. So I still have that pattern to pick out some more. This was a free pattern, and I don't remember the designer, but it was rows of houses on like a Christmas tree triangle. And I just picked out 2 houses to do a small little pillow. And then I put a snowman down here. This was from a magazine. And I think I did this twice. Oh, I did. I did one on blue with green, and I did one on beige in blue. And I hung them in a square and hung them in a diamond. There's the back. Oops. A friend of mine, Helen Cook, she made this for me one year. And I just love it, on a little round tray with some jingle bells. So I love the ones that people made for me, and I can remember and say, oh, so-and-so gave me this. This was from a swap we had at Needleworkers, and Debbie and I, well, I don't think she got mine, but I got hers. Her name is Debbie, and I put this out every year on my tree. I believe a viewer gave me a Prairie Schooler. It's this little one. I don't remember the name if it was just home, and it was so tiny. I'm trying to figure out how I finished it. I just folded it over, probably glued it onto a backing, and then I put chenille on it, and then I put it on another backing and put pom-poms on it to make it a little larger to hang on this, was it hornbook? And I got that at Hobby Lobby a couple of years ago, and I finally used it. Hobby Lobby. This was from the magazine, and I don't remember what it was called. I think it was called something, a robin maybe. And he's holding a present. And this was stitched on Ada, 18 count Ada. This was one of my favorite patterns. This is, you'll all know it. It's Merry Christmas by, oh, I can't remember. This is really putting me on the spot. I've done a few patterns from her. I should remember. I know you're all yelling it at me, but it's not coming to me. This was stitched last year, and I loved it from the moment it came out. Put a batik on the back, and I just love that pillow. Prairie Schooler, and I finished it on a styrofoam block. I could always unpin it if I wanted to and make it into a pillow. But I thought sometimes to just change it up a little bit. I made another sleigh by Lizzie Kate. This was a Lizzie Kate pattern, and it was Tiny Tidings, it was called, and it had a number. One was, I think this was 176, Be Sweet. And there's like candy canes, and Yeah, it came with the little cookie. There's one that goes with this. I'll eventually find it in here. This was from the magazine. 2020. Oh, this one's got to cut that off. '21. This was a Prairie Schooler St. Nicholas pamphlet. I finished him this way, and what does it say? 2017. Put the year in there. Just a plain backing. This was a Lizzie Kate Ho Ho Ho. I was looking for this ribbon, and I thought I saved it because I was doing a series of Christmas ornaments and I wanted them all to match. Well, I couldn't find them. Couldn't find it. I was looking for this ribbon. I couldn't find that ribbon. So I've been searching for 2 years for this ribbon. Can't find it. This ribbon I found at Michael's, but in a big spool of like, I don't know, 6 or 7 ribbons. So I bought it and I put it on one finish that I did, and then I couldn't find it again. I don't know where I put that one spool. So don't you know I had to go and buy it again? Let's not go there. This is Stitching with the Housewives, Mary and Jolly. These are on 16 count Aida. I always cringe when I work on black, but I wanted to do these 2 matching ones, and it's just a plain backing on sticky board. This was Rosewood Manor. Rosewood Manor Christmas Blues, and I think that is so pretty. I put some pearl pins in the sides and some beads on it, and I believe in the magazine it held it like this, but I wanted to do it that way. Love that one. This one was Arlene Cohen's ornament, Works by ABC. And I don't remember the name of this, but she stitched it in a different color. And I stitched it in these blues. And I did it to match the Rosewood Manor. And I just love it. Love it. This is Waxing Moon Designs, where they do the 3, like for Christmas they do 3 houses, spring they did it. Well, I took one of the houses and I stitched this on an 18 count using 1 thread. And I think it came out good. The roof is a little see-through, but other than that, the rest of it looks pretty good. This was the Lizzie Kate, that Be Sweet. This one is Bright, and that was Tiny Tidings 176. This was from the magazine, Snow. I must have decided to put the buttons there instead of stitching snowflakes, maybe. This is a JBW design. They were Christmas trees. They came, I don't know if it was 3 or 4 designs in one package. And I did this. I think this is an 18 count. I don't think it's 20. Maybe it is. I'm not really sure. Aida, white Aida. This was from the ornament book. This was Lizzie Kate Snow. I made the button to match the fabric. I love this one. I love the definition of the white against that fabric. It must have been like Dirty Ada or something like that. Joy to the World was a, this was in the magazine. No, this was a Lizzie Kate. There's another Joy that was in the magazine. It wasn't this one. This was a magazine pattern. And I finished this on a bed and bath candle topper. It just fit perfectly. I mean, granted, there's a lot of space around the outside, but I love it. Here's another JBW. And this is the same, it was in the same pattern book. So I'm assuming now this is a 20 count. And this is on 28 count. There's the difference in size. This is a Works by ABC. This was tiles from 1603. And I picked one that looked like pears. I don't know if Arlene meant them to be pears, but I call them pears. Maybe she did. And I stitched it in a variegated green. I don't know if it was Dinky Dyes or it looks like it could have been 18 count Ada, and it could have been sulky with one thread. It's hard to tell. And it changed colors itself. So love that. This was a Mill Hill kit. And this is Woodland Santa series. And the reason I chose this pattern is because Teresa Little Stitcher was stitching it. And she would tell you the story of how she was beading on the train going to work because she had a long commute. So she would bring stitching on the train and she was beading and a bead flew and it hit a gentleman. And, you know, of course she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And he wasn't. Just like, oh, don't worry, it's okay. No. So when she told that story, every time I take this out, I think of her and that story. So, and I just finished it with some blue felt. I think this was my very first Mill Hill. Let's see, oh no, let's see the beads here, up here in his hat and his coat. Now that I look at it, I have some Mill Hill patterns that I should stitch, but sometimes I think, oh, beads. I did it. This was from the magazine. And now I have a charm that says 2021. This was St. Lucy's Light, I believe, is the name of the pattern, but I don't remember the designer from the magazine. This was the magazine, and this was Autumn's Lane Stitchery, I believe it's called. And they do an amazing job with their shading. And even their outlining, they want you to use 1, 2, and 3 strands of floss, I think, for outlining some of this. I don't think I did that. I might have done 1 or 2, maybe just 1. But yeah, I love their patterns. Very detailed, very shading perfect. The back. This was also a magazine. Speaking of people sharing their talents with you, this was, I believe this was tatted. Arlene Cohen gave one of each of us to us in our immediate Zoom group, and she made them for us and included it in a Christmas card. And it's beautiful, and it sits on my tree. This was a Lizzie Kate. I'm not sure which one, but this was from the magazine. I I think I changed the fabric color to be darker. I think they did it like on a beige. I'm going to say beige because I don't know colors. This is on an 18 count, somewhat blue-gray. And I did it to have the white pop better. And then those are seed beads in silver. See, the camera's on this side. I guess I'm right-handed, so I'm used to doing this, but the camera's on this side. This was also a Lizzie Kate. And this is also in a cube. Mary. We're getting there. We're getting there. This was a Prairie Schooler. Let's see, I didn't put a year on this one. I believe this was for my, no, maybe it wasn't St. Nicholas. It was probably one of the yearly Santas, but I don't know which year. And then I did it with the red ticking. I finished one that I'll share in my next video, my regular video of the finishes that I had since we were together. This was a magazine, Joy, and that came from the 2020 issue. So that's a 2020, and I have the 2021 charm in the back. I showed this prior, I believe, in a round hoop in a larger count fabric. This must be on an 18 count from the magazine. These are, I showed you this stitch before, and I did this a little bit different. I put it on one of these ornaments. Where did I get these ornaments? I can see the store. It was Walmart. That's what it was. A couple of years ago, and I held on to them until I could think of something to do with them. This one I did not glue on. I tied it on. I have a piece of ribbon, actually chenille, on the back of the piece, and then I'll probably have to tighten it because it kind of sags a little bit. But that was another finish on that. I believe, I don't want to take a chance. This was from a magazine as well. I think it's Ursula Michaels, but I'm not sure. She does one every year in the magazine of a snowman. And this was the 2020 issue. And I did it in 2021. And these are hands-on design. She did a series, and I just changed the colors a little bit. And these were Noel and Tree Farm, I believe. And those are the back. Then I got married in 1979, and somewhere from there to the time I moved to New Jersey, I bought a little kit, cross-stitch kit, and this, I stitched it. And I didn't know too much about cross-stitching other than the directions in the pattern. It's done, it looks like on a 18 count Aida with some outlining. And this is the back and how I finished it. It looks like I just cut off the fabric. I don't even think I glued it. So I hang this on my tree to say, you've come a long way, baby. So those are all what's in the box, and that will go up on my tree this year. I will do a regular video sometime the end of November next week or the beginning of December. I have to tell you, the twins were born. Mom and girls are doing great. Michael's been up there, the hospital with them. They're due to come home today, sometime today, and I will give you more details in the next one. I can't show any photos yet because I think they want to be the first to introduce them, and so no photos, but everybody's doing well. Thank you so much for your thoughts and prayers. They meant a lot to us, and I pass them on to Rebecca all the time. I see her. When somebody else says something, you know, I do pass it on, and she's always so grateful to have people thinking of her and, you know, hoping that everything goes well. So thank you very much for that. And like I said, oh, I'm not exactly sure when I'm coming back, only because this whole week I had Caleb, and it took a lot away from my stitching time, I'll be honest. And I want to be able to show you something. So if I'm not back the end of the month with a regular video, give me a couple of days into December, and as soon as I can, I will give you an update. All right, guys, take care. Enjoy. Oh, I hope your Thanksgiving was everything you wanted it to be and more. And peace and joy to all of you. Love you guys. Mwah.